welcome to this week's Monday message. This message is for teachers. Currently, we are in an environment where we are seeing workloads higher than we've ever had before. And this makes our job really difficult because it takes away so much of what we organically love about teaching, inspiring young minds to learn and to enjoy building that connection and relationship with our students. So if we're in an environment where our stress levels are really high, how do we actually acknowledge when we're breaking down a connection with our students? So here's my top tips for knowing when connections are failing and how we may repair those. So tip number 1, read facial and body cues. So when we're busy and stressed, we can often neglect to look beneath the behaviour. We refuse to acknowledge slight changes in body language. Children often don't hold the power in this situation, so therefore they tend to go quiet, but we can tell through the way in which they're behaving in their body physically whether or not we've broken that connection. And here's a couple of examples. Especially within boys, that shame response is really visible. They slump their shoulders, they bow their heads, they get a puff of air comes out. And sometimes with the older boys, it comes across as a disrespectful response, but it's actually shame and embarrassment. And if you can see some of those things happening, then you know you've broken the connection. Now, the child might have done the wrong thing, but if we break that connection, we're less likely to get the truth, we're less likely to understand where the behavior is coming from, and we're less likely to be able to repair the behavior or the problem or moving forward, and we'll increase that situation. Tip number 2, listen. Often we are so time poor as teachers, we jump to conclusions, we make judgments on what's happened in a situation, and we don't allow space for a child to feel seen and heard or to explain what had happened. Now, we may not agree with the way in which a child has behaved or what choices they've made in an intense situation, but we have to listen. We have to make them feel that they have a voice, even if the outcome remains the same. Because I can guarantee you, if you allow that space for them to communicate with you, then they are going to get it off their chest. They are going to move into the classroom with a clean slate, wanting to learn and wanting to pay attention. If we don't provide them with that sounding board and feel validated within how they are expressing what they're saying, then I can guarantee you it will create more problems in the classroom, more distraction, more behaviours that might become difficult to manage within the classroom setting, less engagement in their learning, and therefore definitely a disengagement that can magnify over time. Tip number 3, accept how they're feeling, accept their experience. Now, we often want to fix it, and sometimes this can do some damage with behaviour, because if we don't address how the child is feeling, then we actually can't solve the problem for them. We're not going to solve it, even if we think that we have. We think, okay, well, they've said sorry to that child and that child's accepted their apologies, great, let's move on, done. But if this child that has said sorry walks away feeling hurt because the actual problem instigated from the other child saying something mean, then we haven't really solved anything. All we've done is solved it on the surface. So if a child says to you, well, he said something really mean to me and I didn't like it. Well, yeah, we know he hit him after that, but we have to actually validate that. So I'll give you an example. That must have really hurt. How did that make you feel? I was really angry and I was really upset and he's not my friend anymore. Yeah, I can see how that could make you feel angry and sad and upset. After we've validated that later, we move on to, yes, but it still wasn't okay for you to do X, Y, and Z. But what that will do is if you validate how they're feeling in their experience, they will be more willing and open to listen to what comes next, to the restorative practice part. Tip number 4, acknowledge that mistakes are human. It is so powerful with students to say to them, it's okay, you just made a mistake and you're probably going to make some more, and that's okay. But the best part of making mistakes is that we can try and learn from them. So what can we learn from this mistake? And what can we take moving forward into situations that are probably going to come up that are similar? So the restorative part of this is actually acknowledging that they've made a mistake, they've made a poor choice, and they have the opportunity to try again, because that gives hope. That makes them feel normal, because we all make mistakes, and that's okay. Okay, tip number 5 is don't hold judgments and let it go. Children come from a very complex fabric of environmental factors, whether it be home environment, friendship issues, anxieties, learning disorders, trauma, past trauma, all of these different things that make it very complex. If we start to judge a child and think, oh gosh, they're just so inconsiderate and they're so rude, labeling that child and making judgments on that doesn't allow us the space to let go and try again. We need to let go and try again just as much as the student does. And we need to be able to forgive that child for those mistakes they've made, even if they're at us and towards us, because they're the child and they need that space of forgiveness, because they can't make better choices if they don't feel safe to try again. And we create that space. So please let go of judgments and please start afresh and provide that space for the child to feel comfortable and confident that you've let it go. Oh, straight after the mistake, we can say to them, oh, and look at you there, trying so hard to make good choices. I'm super proud of you. That would have been really hard after what just happened. This allows them that safe space to keep trying, and it doesn't shut them off from you, which will shut off their connection. I hope these tips have helped, and I look forward to next week's Monday message.